Have you ever learned a new word, and then suddenly, as if by magic, you start hearing it everywhere? Or perhaps you decide to buy a specific model of car, and in the days that follow, the streets seem to be flooded with that exact vehicle. It feels like the universe is suddenly conspiring to show you this one thing, that a cosmic switch has been flipped. But what if the world hasn't changed at all? What if, instead, the change has happened inside your own mind? This strange and common experience has a name. It's called the frequency illusion. And while it might feel like a strange coincidence or even a message from beyond, it turns out the explanation is rooted firmly in the fascinating, and sometimes deceptive, architecture of our own consciousness. It's a perfect demonstration of how your brain doesn't just passively record reality, it actively constructs it. To understand this illusion, we need to look at two powerful psychological processes that are constantly running in the background of your mind: selective attention and confirmation bias. Together, they create a potent feedback loop that can make the mundane seem miraculous. Imagine you're standing in a bustling train station. Thousands of conversations are happening at once. The screech of train wheels, announcements over the loudspeaker, the shuffling of countless feet. It's an overwhelming flood of sensory data. And yet, if someone across the platform calls your name, you'll likely hear it. Your brain, in its incredible efficiency, has learned to filter out the noise and prioritize what's important to you. This is the essence of selective attention. Our brains are bombarded with billions of bits of information every single second. We can't possibly process it all. So, we have a built-in filter, a kind of mental gatekeeper. This system, in part managed by a region in the brainstem called the reticular activating system, decides what gets let into your conscious awareness and what remains as ignored background noise. Most of the time, that specific make of car or that obscure new word is just background noise. Your brain sees it, or hears it, but deems it irrelevant and discards it before it ever reaches your conscious thought. But the moment you assign importance to it, by learning the word's meaning, or by considering buying that car, you've given your brain a new instruction. You've essentially told the gatekeeper, "Hey, this is important now, let this through." Your brain dutifully obliges. It retunes your perception, highlighting every instance of that car or word. It's not that there are more of them, it's that you are finally noticing the ones that were there all along. The world hasn't changed its frequency, you've just tuned your receiver to a new station. But selective attention is only half of the story. Once your brain starts noticing this new thing everywhere, a second cognitive mechanism kicks in to seal the deal: confirmation bias. This is our deep-seated tendency to favor information that confirms our existing beliefs or perceptions. It's a mental shortcut that helps us make sense of the world, but it can also build a very convincing illusion. So, you see that car for the second time in a day. Your selective attention flags it. Then, your confirmation bias goes to work. Aha, your brain says. See, I was right. These cars really are everywhere now. Each new sighting becomes another piece of evidence, reinforcing the initial perception. Your brain starts to build a narrative. It's incredible how popular this car has suddenly become. What your brain doesn't do is count all the hundreds, or thousands, of other cars you passed that were not the one you were looking for. This is negative evidence, and our brains are notoriously bad at paying attention to it. We don't notice the absence of something, we only notice its presence, especially when we're primed to look for it. Essentially, selective attention opens the door, and confirmation bias rushes through it, then slams it shut on any contradictory information. This one-two punch is so effective that it can feel genuinely uncanny. This is why the phenomenon also has a much more colorful name: the Baader-Meinhof Phenomenon. The name has nothing to do with the psychology itself, but with the very illusion it describes. In 1994, a commenter on an online forum for the St. Paul Pioneer Press posted about how he had heard of the Baader-Meinhof Group, a far-left German militant organization from the 1970s, for the first time, and then, within 24 hours, saw another, completely unrelated reference to them. Other readers chimed in with their own similar experiences of learning something new and then encountering it again, and they jokingly dubbed the experience the Baader-Meinhof Phenomenon. The name, itself an example of a once obscure term, stuck, and ironically, helped more people notice the phenomenon, perpetuating the very illusion it describes. So, what does this all mean beyond seeing cars and hearing new words? It means that our personal reality is far more subjective than we think. The frequency illusion is a harmless and often amusing quirk of cognition, but the mechanisms behind it shape our lives in profound ways. Marketers, for example, are masters of exploiting it. An advertising campaign doesn't just put a product in front of you. It primes your selective attention. After seeing a few ads for a new smartphone or a brand of soda, you start noticing it on billboards, in the hands of people on the street, and on store shelves. Your brain, now tuned to that frequency, begins to think, wow, this product is everywhere. It must be really popular. This perceived popularity, manufactured by the illusion, can be the tipping point that convinces you to buy. The illusion can also have more serious consequences. Think of a medical student learning about the symptoms of a rare disease. Suddenly, a slight headache or a muscle twitch is no longer just a minor annoyance. Their selective attention is now primed to notice these specific symptoms, and their confirmation bias can quickly lead them to the terrifying conclusion that they have the disease. This is a well-known experience called medical student syndrome, a direct and powerful manifestation of the frequency illusion. On an even larger scale, this cognitive shortcut can shape our entire worldview. When we begin to subscribe to a particular political or social belief, our brain starts to actively seek out and highlight evidence that supports it. We see articles, news clips, and social media posts that confirm our perspective, and we interpret them as proof of a widespread trend. See, everyone is saying it, we might think. Meanwhile, our confirmation bias conveniently filters out or dismisses the mountain of evidence to the contrary. In short, the frequency illusion can become the engine of an echo chamber, reinforcing our beliefs and making them feel more correct and more universally accepted than they actually are. It helps explain how two people can look at the exact same set of facts and, through different filters of attention and bias, come away with completely opposite conclusions. But why would our brains be wired this way? Why would evolution give us a system so prone to illusion? To understand this, we have to look back across the vast timeline of humanity. For our distant ancestors living in a world full of predators and immediate dangers, this kind of pattern recognition system was a powerful survival tool. It was far more beneficial to be hypersensitive to patterns than to be perfectly objective. If you saw one strange track in the mud, it was a massive evolutionary advantage to have your brain immediately tune its attention to find other signs of a potential predator. A rustle in the grass, a broken twig, your confirmation bias would string these together and scream, "Danger!" The hominid who saw one tiger print and concluded tigers were suddenly everywhere was more likely to be cautious and survive than the one who demanded a statistically significant sample size before changing their behavior. In the high-stakes environment of our species' past, a false positive, thinking a predator is near when it isn't, was a minor inconvenience. A false negative, failing to notice a predator that is near, was fatal. We are the descendants of the anxious and pattern-seeking. Our brains are optimized for quick, efficient, good enough judgments, not for slow, logical, and perfectly accurate analysis. The frequency illusion, then, is not so much a flaw in our cognitive wiring as it is an echo of a survival strategy that served our species for hundreds of thousands of years. Ultimately, the frequency illusion is a humble reminder that our perception is not a clear window onto the world, but a curated and edited story, with our own brain as the author. It shows us that the line between what is out there and what is in here is blurry. The things we choose to care about, the ideas we decide are important, literally change the world we experience. Understanding this doesn't break the spell entirely. You'll still feel that jolt of strange coincidence the next time it happens, but it does give you a moment of clarity. It allows you to take a step back and see the illusion for what it is, not a sign from the universe, but a sign from within, a glimpse into the powerful, predictable, and deeply human machinery of your own consciousness at work. The world isn't talking to you, your brain is. And learning to understand its language is one of the most fundamental parts of understanding ourselves. But this ancient wiring for pattern recognition isn't just a relic of our past, it's also a fundamental engine for growth and discovery in our modern lives. It's what makes learning so deeply satisfying. Imagine you're learning to play the guitar. At first, music is just a pleasant wash of sound. But once you learn what a IVVIV chord progression is, you suddenly hear it everywhere, from pop anthems to classic rock ballads. It feels like you've been given a secret decoder ring for the entire history of music. The same happens when learning a new language, a scientific concept, or a species of bird. Suddenly, that generic bird song outside your window becomes a complex conversation between specific species you can name. Your brain rewards your effort of paying attention by revealing a hidden layer of the world that was invisible to you before. Each time you notice the pattern in the wild, it's a small jolt of dopamine, a confirmation that your new knowledge is not just abstract, but a real and useful tool for navigating your environment. In this way, the frequency illusion becomes a catalyst for curiosity, turning the world from a static backdrop into an interactive landscape of endless detail. This is your consciousness expanding, redrawing the map of your reality to include new, richer territories. Ultimately, the frequency illusion reveals that our reality is not a passive recording, but an active collaboration between the universe and our own minds. It's a humble reminder that our perception is a curated story, with our attention as the editor. The things we choose to care about, the skills we learn, the ideas we find important, these literally change the world we experience, making it richer or narrower. So the next time you feel that jolt of strange coincidence, that feeling of the world suddenly revolving around a new idea, you can see it for what it is. It's not a message from the cosmos, it's a message from you, to you, a sign that your consciousness is engaged, learning, and actively shaping the very fabric of your experience. If this perspective resonated with you, consider subscribing to continue exploring the world within.